Hello, EKN Nation, and welcome to the first Debrief episode of the 2023 season, episode number 105. A lot of different events we've covered over the last basically 5 years that we've been doing podcasts. It is Wednesday, January 18th, 2023, and we're going to review the 2023 Superkarts USA Winter Series, the AMR Motorplex in Homestead, Florida, the opening event for the Winter Series program that starts Superkarts USA season. I am David Cole. I'm going to be joined by Rob Howden and Nate Dean, who were trackside at the event this past weekend. And again, this episode of Debrief is presented by Parolin USA. It all started in 1994 when former kart driver Albino Parolin decided to move his passion for karting from the track to a small workshop. That's when Parolin was born. Parolin USA is North America's source for Parolin products, and we run a factory team at all the major Superkarts USA, USPKS, and Rock Cup USA events. The Parolin chassis lineup for 2023 includes the Invader Shifter, the Lamar Tag single-speed chassis for junior and senior drivers, the 28mm Opportunity model for cadet classes, and the Daytona 4-cycle chassis. Get on the chassis that's winning. Drive a Parolin. For more information, head to ParolinUSA.com. So again, my name is David Cole. I was not at the event, so I'm going to be hosting this show as we have our normal host, Rob Howden, and Nate Dean doing the heavy lifting and talking about the 2023 Superkarts USA Winter Series event at Homestead AMR Motorplex. Rob, pleasure to not have you hosting this show.
That was really weird. That was super weird.
I bet.
Sitting here for the first 2 minutes of this thing. Wow. All right, cool. Good. Well done, though, David.
It gives you a new perspective, right?
It does. It 100% does. Indeed, a fantastic weekend down in Florida. A little chillier than I think anybody expected because throughout the early week, it was kind of like 75 or 80 degrees through the week. And then as soon as we went official racing on Saturday and Sunday, it was like 45 degrees in the morning. And we only got to a high of, I think, 62 on Saturday, about 64 on Sunday. So it was interesting for the drivers, David, to get things kind of dialed in, right, for chassis-wise, because it was so cold in the morning for those practice sessions and then qualifying. But otherwise, everybody handled it really well. Strong weekend at AMR Homestead Miami Motorplex, presented by MG Tires, as you had said. First two rounds of the four-round championship program, sixth season. Started back in 2018. It was a good one, man. And bottom line, the first thing, the number to kind of throw out, record numbers at the event too, which is good. 250 entries all told.
Yeah, and one thing, Nate, there wasn't a lot of rain. I was talking about that in our outlap, and I was expecting to get rain at least once, maybe more. So only disrupted a little bit on Friday. So you kind of dodged a bullet there with your first trip to Homestead.
Yeah, it was nice not having to deal with too much rain. Of course, the one session where it did start to rain was when I had my big heavy tripod doing some filming on track. So that was just fun. But yeah, very, very lucky that it kept dry.
And at least it's warmer than Minnesota or say Michigan where I'm at, or well, it's probably cold in Utah right now where you're at, Rob. But yeah, you never know what you're going to get in Florida in terms of weather. So it was good to kind of have at least the racing days be clear and have no threat of the wet stuff and get all the sessions in. And one thing that you mentioned, and I think the race report was no red flags on the weekend. I think that's a really good indication of a good start to the 2023 season.
Yeah, no doubt about it, David. You know, talking to Xander Clemens when we were doing the Kart Chaser broadcast, of course, he was an assistant manager at that track for several years. We're talking about the fact that Saturday and Sunday, we actually got the forecast. They said it wasn't going to rain. We were going to have 64. I think we hit the forecasted high each day perfectly, and we didn't have any. You know, that 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock rain that sometimes comes in at Homestead did not happen. So all told, a great weekend of racing. A little bit cooler, as we said, but everybody just bundled up and we went about our business. And speaking of the business, by the numbers, 218 drivers back in 2022, 250 entries this year. Micro Swift about the same, around a little over 30. Mini Swift totally sold out at 48. It was a massive Mini Swift field. X30 Junior and X30 Senior still pretty strong, both a little bit down, 10-15% down from last year, but the racing was stellar. The move from X30 Master to KA100 Master drew out 3 more drivers, 14 in total in what was a pretty solid little deal. You have 14 karts on the track. It's a good race. Of course, X30 Junior, David, over doubled. It went from 22 last year.
KA100.
Pardon me, KA100. Over doubled. It was 22 last year, 50 this year in KA100 Junior. Amazing.
Yeah, that's where the bulk of the record numbers is coming from. As you said, 250 this year to 218 last year. So a double in terms of numbers there. So that's 28 drivers extra, or 28 entries extra for that this year's event. KA100 Junior at 29. So very similar to last year's 31. Pro Shifter got a little bit of a bump, but more than doubled, going from 4 to 9. And then Master Shifter remained at 5. So again, a solid start. Again, as you said, a record event for the Superkarts USA Winter Series opener for 2023. We had to go back to the record books. We had 235 and then 240, I want to say, in 2019. And then 2020 was when we had the 235, I believe it was. And so excited to see that type of record get things started for the year. And this also will start this will lead us into our first commercial break. So again, thank you for tuning into the Debrief. I am David Cole, joined by Rob Howden and Nate Dean. We'll get back to the Paddock Pass after this commercial break.
In karting, it's important to be supported by the right people. With over 40 years of experience in the sport, Trinity Karting Group has everything you need to make your program successful. We do it all, and we do it right. Trackside support and arrive and drive programs at many of karting's biggest East Coast events, full product sales and service, and professional coaching from our experienced staff. Trinity Karting Group is a full-service operation based at the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati, which gives us access to our custom-designed driver training facility. This allows us to offer private one-on-one coaching to take you to the next level. From arrive and drive and coaching programs to the parts you need, let Trinity Karting Group provide you with customer service and a racing experience second to none. Trinity Karting Group is an official Kart Republic race team, providing full trackside support at all the major USA karting events, including the SCUSA Pro Tour, United States Pro Kart Series, SCUSA Super Nationals 25, and other events throughout the 2022 season. TKG has in stock Kart Republic, IAME, MG and Avinco tires, and more products for those in Ohio and the Midwest region. Trinity Karting Group has a long history of the sport, a winning pedigree, and we're dedicated to driver development. We take pride in our professional approach and our positive attitude. Let us build a custom race program for you. Give us a call at 513-421-4463 or check us out online at trinitykartinggroup.com. The new face of competitive karting in the Pacific Northwest region is RaceLab. The full-service karting operation is located at the state-of-the-art Kartplex facility in Oliver, British Columbia, Canada, providing everything you need to hit the track or put yourself in a successful driver development program. RaceLab is the official North American distributor for the TB Kart chassis brand, providing the full range of models from kid kart to shifter kart. Villeneuve Racing Karts is their flagship product, available only through RaceLab. The brand carries the name of Formula One champion and Indianapolis 500 winner Jacques Villeneuve, with each model produced by TB Kart. Kartplex, the home of RaceLab, is situated on the grounds of the Area 27 Motorsports Park. From full arrive and drive TB Kart rentals to leagues and competition karting, the facility provides a new home to developing the future stars of motorsports, all beginning at Kartplex with RaceLab. Follow RaceLab on social media on Facebook and Instagram, or load up their website at www.theracelab.ca to learn more about TB Kart and Villeneuve Racing Karts. RaceLab. Race with us, win with us.
Welcome back to another episode of the Debrief presented by Parolin USA. We're discussing the Superkarts USA Winter Series opener at the AMR Motorplex. Again, I'm David Cole, joined by Rob Howden and Nate Dean, who are trackside for the event this past weekend. And now we'll go in a little bit to the Paddock Pass presented by Rollison Performance Group. Ready to step up your game? Joining the Rollison Performance Group is the obvious choice to take your racing to the next level. Industry-leading driver development is provided by our staff of multi-time national champions, Super Nationals winners, and Team USA members. Our goal is to help raise your game and win races. We work with all age groups and are focused on developing those cadet and junior drivers ready to take the next step in their racing program. If you want to fight for the championships or need to improve your skills and chances to win, the answer is to call RPG at 503-260-4514. The Rollison Performance Group. We race to win. So Rob and Nate, we're getting into the Paddock Pass. I know you guys got a little bit of a late start Friday due to some of the travel issues you had, Rob, on Thursday. But kind of talk about some of the news and topics that were surrounding the paddock there this past weekend.
Yeah, we didn't get to the track till about maybe afternoon on Friday because I had to go buy clothes because my bag didn't make it with me to Homestead. So I had no clothes to wear. So I had to get some shorts and a shirt to wear on Friday. So we didn't get there till a little later. So didn't get as many Paddock Insider pieces up on the website that I would have liked. But one of the ones we led with, Nate and I went over and talked to Mike Speed and the crew over at Speed Concepts Racing, who have had a bunch of different carts, obviously, in the paddock. They've had OTK products with the Red Speed. They've had the TB cart there as well. They also, lined up with Kart Republic a bit. And Paulie Massimino had a chance to test the Kart Republic. And Nate, as we were talking to Mike, Paulie really, really happy with the cart. Loved a lot of front grip. They talked about the side bite. All didn't go well for Paulie throughout the weekend, although we know that Kart Republic was strong all weekend in Homestead.
Yeah, I mean, I think I heard and saw a lot of people just saying how well the Kart Republic goes at AMR. So obviously a bit of a disappointing weekend for Paulie, but have a lot of spoke highly of the Kart Republic chassis.
Yeah, we'll see how that plays out, whether or not he stays on that brand, David, throughout the 2023 season. I know that Mike Speed was as Nate said, spoke very highly of it. So I think we may see him on the Kart Republic continuing on. We'll see what happens there. Another big move, Dave, was talking to you and Jeffrey from CRG Nordam. You and I we talked about it in the Outlap preview podcast. That a couple teams had Tesoro Racing, a couple drivers, and we're like, what's going on here? Well, it came together really, really late. CRG obviously hoping to get more teams out there on the CRG brand with their product line. So Tony Tesoro has started Tesoro Raceworks and had a handful of drivers, I think 4 drivers under his tent. He's thinking about trying to go maybe to 8 drivers, but kind of keeping it small. Frankie Mossman, Carson Weinberg, David Ybarra, and Johnny Antonino were the 4 drivers that he had. But, for CRG, David, pretty solid to have another strong team and a guy like Tony Tesoro who has worked with CRG for a lot of years.
Yeah, a number of years with CRG. Was there with Tyler Maxon. That was kind of his first introduction with CRG. So he's been around the brand and understands it. Worked with a number of different drivers on different brands as well. Brent Cruz on the Kart Republic and CRG as well too. So yeah, again, I think that's Ewan's kind of focus is trying to get a East Coast team. He worked with Speed Concepts Racing all last year, kind of a side tent with that group. And so now, Tesoro's kind of breaking away to kind of focus on just the CRG guys. So it's not that lump. It's kind of the one brand focus, I think, is kind of where Ewan and Tony Tesoro want to go with. So we'll see how that develops and how that grows, because obviously CRG Nordam has a good representation on the West Coast with Brown White Racing. And a couple other dealers as well, too, across the country. Obviously we work with LSR Motorsports when we go to Cup Karts North America. And again, there's drivers here and there that are good and loyal CRG drivers across the country.
Yeah, and one other little note, Alessandro's Racing, which is a big player down in Florida. They also race in Mexico. They're actually jumping on board with CRG Mexico and the CRG brand as well. They had Noel Leon with the team on the CRG for this weekend, but the rest of the team was on OTK. I believe that they're going to be moving fully to CRG as well. So a lot of brand talk here right now in Paddock Pass as we move over as well to PSL karting with Burrell Arts. We obviously had announced on the website, and as did PSL, that Mateus Morgado, the reigning champion, was going to run with them when he's over in North America this year. He'll be with Lennox Racing in Europe. Mateus was strong throughout the weekend, but not super happy overall. He ended up having a couple of good results, but they really kept getting better throughout the weekend, as did Diego Ramos with him as well, his PSL karting Burrell Art teammate. Ramos actually qualified on the pole on Sunday, and they were both in the fight for sure. So that they were kind of developing things, which was interesting. To stay with Kart Republic, Trinity Karting Group actually not coming down to the SCUSA Winter Series races. Not sure whether they're going to do the Pro Tour either. Their client base looking at a couple of different series. They will be at the USPKS, and I believe the Stars Championship too. And they recently announced that they'll also be supporting the GoPro Motorplex Club program there as well. So changing a bit the way they're focusing. This kind of, Dave, opened the door for Chad Dockin Racing to roll in to support a number of the Kart Republic drivers. Although Lucas Palacio, who has raced with Trinity, he and Aiden Levy and a couple other drivers were kind of in a bit of a privateer effort. In fact, I think, Nate, didn't you tell me that they didn't even set the tents up? I think on Saturday. At one point, they were kind of working out of the back of the trailers.
Yeah, I'm not too sure about that.
I might have been somebody else I was chatting with. Nonetheless, David, interesting that Chad Dockin Racing, who have been on different chassis, of course, they work with Stephen Miller. They've kind of taken up the reins of the Kart Republic support at these SCUSA Winter Series races.
Yeah, it's he had Stephen Miller under with the Alonso kart, which is built by Kart Republic, winning the Super Nationals. So in K100 Junior. So they moved over to that brand. I want to say it was the Spring Nationals in Utah. And so they used basically all the second half of the season to kind of get adjusted and acclimated, moving over from the OTK brand. So good to see, again, a former road racer and guy who races pretty much everything in oval and dirt oval and laydowns, and good to see him developing a program now. And so they had a good core group. Obviously had factory support with Joe Turney coming over, making his Kart Republic debut as well under I believe they were working under the same tent. So really cool to see that.
Last but not least, Intrepid was there, the Intrepid brand with the Goodwood Kartways team. And in fact, Mirko Scherzoni, the owner of Intrepid, was trackside at Homestead as well with Goodwood Kartways. So we'll see whether or not we see Mirko over here. I know they've been working on some stuff in the back. Obviously, Goodwood Kartways based out of Canada, but they've been working on some stuff to get that Intrepid brand, its roots back here in North America, back in the U.S., where they were for many years with Champion Racing. So I would expect we're going to hear more announcements, and we'll see more of the Intrepid brand, David, throughout the 2023 season.
Yeah, that's always been a brand that's been very successful here in North America. One of my first trips to Europe was with the Intrepid group in 2006, the Winter Cup at South Garda. So I have some roots with that program as well too. So very cool to see. Again, a lot of excitement in terms of the industry. Energy's making a push.
Very true.
We have another brand in Sodi Kart that's going to be, we're going to have a little bit of an announcement on that a little soon too, on the website. So it's very interesting to see the manufacturers getting pumped up about the USA market and kind of getting that influx back into. Obviously COVID had a lot to do with certain things, but they obviously have seen the growth and the numbers that I think all these programs are producing, and they're like, man, we got to get our brands into that market massively. So
that's a great point. Yeah. There is no COVID hangover yet, right? Everybody's still super excited about the sport. We're still hammering down record numbers here. I expect we're going to see good numbers at the Rock Cup USA event this coming weekend. USPKS expecting to launch strong as well. I expect good numbers on the West Coast for the Challenge of the Americas. There's a lot of excitement in national level karting right now, which is great.
Yeah, it's great to see. And so with that, we'll head into our next commercial break. Again, the debrief to cover the Superkarts USA Winter Series will continue on after these commercial breaks.
In racing, experience is priceless. Franklin Motorsports is a leader in the karting industry with over 50 years of combined karting experience, and we can provide you with everything you need to go racing. With a large online product selection, select track support events, and a wide variety of shop services, Franklin Motorsports is your complete karting source. Check out our online store at www.franklinkart.com, where all our products are just a mouse click away. We're constantly adding to the growing product selection on the online store, and we ship daily to ensure products get to you quickly. We specialize in IAME engines, tilt seats, ceramic products, driveline branded products, Briggs & Stratton engines, OTK products, and of course, the championship-winning Merlin chassis. In our online store, you'll find a variety of items to fill your karting needs. Franklin Motorsports is also known for our wide variety of services and is home to Innovative Engine Works by FMS, our in-house engine service department. Frame straightening, kart prep, and dyno testing are all services offered regularly at Franklin Motorsports. For all things karting, visit franklinkart.com. CRG is one of the most iconic brands in karting, and we're primed and ready for the 2022 season with new material and a never-ending focus on winning. CRG Nordam is the North American distributor for all CRG products. Based outside of Houston, Texas, CRG Nordam supports CRG dealers across the continent, reaching every corner of North America. The CRG KT5 is our new chassis for tag and shifter racing, and it's been designed specifically for the US market. The KT5 features 30mm construction with a 32mm front loop to increase front grip. CRG's new VEN 13 brake system is cutting-edge technology with a master cylinder that allows for pressure regulation within the system. Drivers can customize brake pressure to their own requirements to improve feel and to avoid brake lockup. The kart is finished with new KG 507, 508 bodywork that has refined aerodynamics and reduced weight. For cadet drivers, the 2022 CRG Black Mirror is already logging positive results to start the new season. This chassis will be making big waves in 2022. Longtime CRG drivers will be happy to know that the CRG Road Rebel, the standard in quality and performance, is still available. With four-cycle racing enjoying consistent growth in North America, CRG's FS4 chassis is the ideal choice for racers in brakes and Stratton competition. From pure racing to karting entertainment, many tracks, both indoor and outdoor, have made the switch to the CRG Centurion rental kart line. 5 different models for both gas-powered or electric engines can fit any track's needs for a new rental kart fleet. CRG Nordam has a full inventory of rental karts available for new and existing facilities. For more information on the CRG product line, head to www.kartcrg.com, and to inquire about a North American dealer near you, please email us at info@kartcrg-nordam.com.
And we are back with episode 105 of the Debrief, covering the Superkarts USA Winter Series. I am David Cole, joined by Rob Howden and Nate Dean, who are trackside for the opening event of the 2023 calendar for ekartingnews.com. And we'll get into the race report presented by Comet Kart Sales. History, success, family. These are 3 words that describe Comet Kart Sales, one of the longest tenured karting businesses in the United States. The family-owned operation is located just outside Indianapolis and has provided karts, parts, and services for thousands of racers in the near 6 decades of business. Their online store features everything you need, and they are continually adding new parts to their product line. Make sure you head to cometkartsales.com or call them at 317-462-3413 to be part of the Comet Kart Sales family today. So, Rob and Nate, this is kind of your time as we'll get into the race report, and we're going to start with the X30 Senior presented by Speed Concepts Racing, and the headline for this category, first SCUSA victories for Turney and Bonilla.
Yeah, coming out of the gate, Ryan Norberg was super strong, qualified on the pole on Saturday, stormed to the pre-final win as well, and just looked really good. In fact, I think he was a couple tenths of a second quicker in qualifying, so really good out of the gate. But as Nate will add, the final was very, very interesting because Norberg did not have a good couple of opening laps, low on the tire pressures, got roughed up a little bit and got moved. I think back to 7th, something like that.
Yeah, he kind of didn't have a good go of it this weekend for the opening round of 2023. Just couldn't figure it out in the final. He had pace in qualifying and in the pre-final, but just couldn't put a session together at the end of the day. Just hard fighting, really, really hard fighting in X30 Senior.
He did have fast lap of the race.
Yeah, let me lay it. The deal was, David, to be honest, again, low on the tire pressures. I think a couple of the drivers a little higher. Ryan's the kind of guy that can carry a kart that's crappy, right, with low on tire pressure. But he really got roughed up. He was getting moved around a little bit. Excuse me. Actually got into it. who was it that got into it with him coming in turn number 4? Why did I just lose that? Blake Nash. I believe Blake Nash and him got together a bit as well in turn number 4, the first of the 2 hairpins. But he just got on the outside and moved back. But he started working his way forward, putting the hammer down, just knocking out good laps, getting to where he needed to be, and actually worked his way back up to 2nd on the racetrack. But pushback bumper penalty dropped him back from 2nd to 4th. He was not a happy man in the scale line. Literally kind of walked away, declined an interview, I believe, with Kart Chaser. He was not happy at all, and just kind of, because obviously he knew he had the pushback bumpers, so he ended up going back. The driver who pulled out to the front and really put on a show, Dave, throughout the entire race there in the main event was Joe Turdy, right? Here's a guy that's a factory driver, formerly ran for Tony Kart, now running for Kart Republic, that factory team. And again, not surprising, the level of his skill, able to roll in here and get the win. 3.254 seconds was the margin of victory, but less than that because you take out Ryan Norberg's time. Austin Garrison struggled a bit early, but found some speed in the day and ended up coming into 2nd, running the red speed for Speed Concepts Racing. Alessandro Tulio was strong all weekend long. He ends up P3. Norberg, as I said, down into the 5th spot. And really, David, it was kind of a recovery for Mateus Morgado because he was kind of outside the top 10 and just inside the top 10. But they did find out, I think the cart was actually bent from something that happened in the pre-final. So pretty solid for him actually to get a P5 spot, even with that bent go-kart.
Yeah, got up to 4th at one point early on and then settled into the 5th spot. So good, again, making a debut first weekend, it's figure everything out. And that's going to, one thing you mentioned in the paddock, he got him and Ramos along with Martin and Kremers. So that dynamic, that's going to be fun to watch. Those 3 kind of working together throughout the season.
Morgado mentioned that I would not be surprised to see a lot of chassis development coming out of these guys over here, right, running on the MG tires. So this is going to be a storyline we're going to watch throughout the year, how the development, the R&D of Morgado and all the input coming from Kremers, as you said, and Ramos, how is that going to play out for Burrell to get quicker and quicker? So this will be really interesting to watch throughout the weekend. Hard charger in race number 1 was actually Noel Leon from the CRG. Started all the way back in 35th after an issue in the pre-final, stormed his way forward to a P7 result. So a great job for Noel Leon. I was thinking he may be racing in the U.S. this year in cars. I think he'll be doing a lot of stuff over in Europe again. I will watch for him to kind of keep working his way towards Formula One. A little change, though. Again, talking about PSL karting and Burrell Art dialing things in. Come Sunday, Diego Ramos was the driver to beat in qualifying. Laid it down. David did a great job there.
Yeah, good to see Ramos setting a fast time in qualifying. Again, making that he made the transition to Burrell Art last year about midway through the season. So
and his first pole
interesting to see that. Yeah, and first pole with them for sure.
Yeah, and I think he was really happy with that. He wants to get the win. In the pre-final, Joe Turney then, though, came to the forefront to be able to get that done. I will say this, and Nate can kind of add, because Nate was, of course, out on the track taking the shots before putting the top 10s up. So he was like literally ground level. But, Xander Clemens and I talked about the fact that the racing was really good, really clean on Saturday. It seemed to be like gloves were off, intensity was up for the main event on Sunday. Nate, would you kind of feel the same way? It was a big group up front.
Yeah, everyone was fairly well behaved on Saturday and some good clean racing. Then a switch just flipped in all of them for Sunday, and it was, like you said, gloves off, anything goes. It was crazy.
And the thing about this racetrack, David, you've been to Homestead a few times now. You can pass a lot of places, right, at that track. 1, 3, 4, 5, 7, 9. Like guys were diving in, taking each other, not taking each other out, but diving in. There was some really aggressive racing. And I think with that, it kind of shook everybody up. Turney was up front for a while. He got shuffled back. In the end, the way it all played out with some of the contact that was happening, and guys going off the racetrack, 4 wheels off here and there. Thomas Naveau was up there fighting. He had his elbows up as well. He was 4 wheels off on the grass, coming out of 9 over to 10 and 11 at one point. It was kind of a breakaway with Donovan Bonilla and Alessandro D'Atulio. So a couple of young guns. Bonilla, just I think 16 years of age, runs for Rawlison Performance Group. And I was actually over there at the end of the day talking to Mike when Donovan came over, and I was able to watch the interaction with Mike and Donovan at the end. And Mike's just super proud of what he's done and to keep the pressure up, 100% development. Ryan Norberg posted a couple things, I think, to social media, how proud he was of Donovan. So that's kind of that whole program, right, that Ryan He wants to win, but if he can't do it, he wants to have one of his guys do it. It was a huge national level victory, I think, for Bonilla to come out, David, in front of such a really strong field.
Yeah, and to be able to hold off De Tullio at his home track, that's very key. Because again, that run down that last straightaway to the final corner, I think Bonilla just timed it just right to be able to slow up Alessandro just enough to be able not to let him get him at the line. So again, with that counterclockwise direction of the racetrack, it's a very key aspect in terms of coming to the checkered flag for that victory. So as you said, a 16-year-old kind of learning from Norberg and the Ralston Performance Group and able to get that first Superkarts victory, again, by only 63 thousandths of a second ahead of Alessandro De Tullio. Noel Leon picking up the pace and getting up to third on the podium on that CRG. Canadian Thomas Naveau in the Kart Republic finishing fourth, with Joe Turney finishing fifth. So 2 Kart Republics in the top 5.
Yeah, indeed. A lot of contact in the pre-final. There was guys that were really getting at it. Tyler McIntyre was one of the drivers that struggled there. Fell to the back after, I want to say, it might have been even the opening lap. There was some stuff in turn 1. Anyways, he started 32nd. McIntyre was kind of a top 10 guy all weekend long in the Paralympics. So he ended up starting 32nd, drove up to 11th in the main event. So a 21 spot improvement for Tyler McIntyre as the hard charger in that category. So all in all, just some really good racing in X30 Senior. And for me, it's the precursor of what we're going to get, right? There are a lot of great young drivers. We've got good rookies coming up into the junior cat class as well. Maybe not as good as last year. I think it'll be strong, but it won't be as deep in terms of the rookie class. But yeah, X30 Senior is going to be a barn burner all year.
Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be a good one, especially going the opposite direction when we come back there in February. So we'll head into our next class, which is the Pro Shifter presented by PSL Karting. And the headline for this division: former champions each take victory to begin 2023.
Yeah, pretty easy, I think, to lay out this one here because there wasn't a ton of drivers. And really the battle for the race win throughout the entire weekend was between either AJ Myers or Alan Isambard. But the bottom line is this, Dave: we never got a head-to-head battle in the main event. And I'll kind of lay it in here. Myers qualifies P1 on Saturday. Isambard ends up winning the pre-final because Myers ends up getting a penalty for not having the overflow catch can in the cooling system. So
yeah, disqualification.
He got DQ'd, right? So Isambard then gets the win. He starts on the pole, whole shot, walks away to a 2.8 second lead. Myers comes from last, which isn't that far back, 9th on the grid or 14th on the grid, ends up getting to second, but they were almost identical in lap times. So Myers closed up a little bit. He thought he was off a little bit, didn't change anything on the chassis from the pre-final to the final, and he said he probably should have because he couldn't really eat into the gap at all. So Isambard ends up walking away to the win. Myers gets second. Giorgio Carrara on a Tony Kart running with International Motorsports ends up in the third spot. Davide Foray running in the pro category for Intrepid with Goodwood Kartways ends up in fourth. And Gabriel Cower for Burrell Art ends up in the 5th position. Myers, as we said, 13th to second. So didn't start dead last, but 13th to second. We just didn't get a battle between those guys on Saturday.
So quick question. Did Myers had to obviously go through the master shifter guys first, correct?
He did. Yeah, they lined him up straight up. But,
and was that any issues early on, or was he able to get by those guys really quick?
No, I think he probably got by him. I think almost everybody in the first 2 laps, I believe, was able to slide through there. So no, he had no issues at all with the long straightaway. And the whole 10-11 combination. He just rolls through there so well and just made some dive bomb moves at the end of the straightaway.
Yeah, again, it's shifter guys are really good on cold tires, so that's kind of the difference. So I wasn't sure if that's where Isambard was really able to get his gap over Myers was either getting held up by some of the other drivers as well too.
Well, he got held up enough that he wasn't able to run the straight up laps, right?
Yeah,
it took him a bit to get through it. Then of course he had to get through the Carraras and Cowers and by Foray. So once he got to the tail of the pro category, it just took him a little bit longer, a couple of laps. But
gotcha.
Sunday, Myers again, quickest out of the gate. Everything was strong. Wins the pre-final, but the problem was it was Isambard. Nate, we start the pre-final, and Isambard, I think he was out on lap number 1, was he not?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So to see him on the side of the track, we're like, oh no. So this anticipated battle we're hoping for. Isambard, who won the championship last year. It's his local track. He's probably got more laps on that track over the last couple of years than anybody. He's there all the time with Hanson Motorsports on the Formula K. So he ends up having the issue. He's the guy that's got to come from the back of the pack. not surprising, gets the hard charger award from 12th up to 2nd. But at that point, Myers was long gone. He wins by 3.2 seconds. So really, we're looking forward to that next run in February when we can finally see these two guys go head to head rather.
Yeah, and also in February, we might see a couple more drivers added to that roster that could be able to be potential podium challengers as well, too. Because, again, getting closer to the March, April dates. Again, January is still kind of that iffy thing for shifter drivers. Yeah. And so we'll see. So hopefully we'll get a couple more drivers. Maybe Formal will talk Rollison into letting him race again. So we'll see. we'll keep throwing that carrot out there and see if anybody takes that. So.
I'll tell this, Magic Kart had a pretty solid team and a good run. They brought a lot of shifter kart guys down. As I said, Myers with the win, Isambard second, Laura Spinelli on a Magic Kart was third, Carrera ended up fourth, and Gianno Torino had his best run of the weekend, coming home in fifth. So 3 Magic Karts in the top 5 for the pro shifter category.
So pretty good performance by them. We'll get into KA100 Senior presented by Aspen Sport, and the headline: Levy earns first SCUSA victory. Lloyd returns to top of podium.
2 really good storylines, I think. Number 1, Aiden Levy qualifies on the pole. Really good run for him again on the Alonso kart, running that kind of privateer effort, like I had said. Peyton Phillips comes through. Peyton Phillips was strong all weekend long. He ends up winning the pre-final. And again, just basic, we won't go crazy into the long of the race, but basic KA100 racing. I think it was a breakaway. Then we had some racing. Brought more guys back into the fight. One of the drivers that was super fast, we mentioned him earlier, running for Tesoro Raceworks, and that's Frankie Mossman. So it was kind of Mossman and Phillips running P1 and P2. I believe Phillips was P1. I think Mossman was second. Aiden Levy was hanging out there P3 for the last couple of laps. So, what's going to happen? Where are we going to see a battle? Are we going to see a move? When is Mossman going to make the move? Well, Mossman tries to move over in turn number 5, kind of gets into Phillips a little bit. That's the second of the 2 hairpins, which is a right-hander. And they kind of push wide a little bit on the exit, and a complete over-under. And literally Levy just rolls up, beats him around 6th, gets to 7. He goes from 3rd, David, to 1st on the final lap. Ends up taking a 0.2 of a second victory. It was a wild finish for sure.
Yeah, and they get, as you said, that's something we're going to expect to see not only at the SCUSA Winter Series, but everywhere we go with KA100 or any of the 100cc categories throughout the season. So good to see some great racing. So as you said, Levy on the top of the podium alongside Phillips and Frankie Mossman. Colin Lloyd in the 4th spot aboard the Magic Kart, and then Austin Jers back to the Merlin brand. I don't think he's been on that since he was in the cadet ranks. So good to see Austin in the top 5 for Merlin Nation.
And David, he had kind of said he was coming home, right? He was coming home to run with Jamie Saraki, and they were pretty happy being there. One of the big storylines, and Nate, we've talked about this. Xander and I talked about it quite a bit on the broadcast as well. Thomas Stolzer-Manis. I think everybody's figured him to come out of the gate strong. He had some issues in the pre-final. He ended up being the hard charger, which you wouldn't expect. You figured he'd start farther forward. But Nate, he kind of struggled a bit here and there. Wasn't great out of the gate. Did not qualify well. I think he had trouble, Nate, if I'm not mistaken, in the happy hour practice on Friday afternoon. He was actually in the slow group in qualifying. That was one of his biggest issues.
Yeah, he was in the slow group. He did struggle quite a bit on Saturday, picked up the pace for Sunday, and we'll talk about that in a sec, but just wasn't the same Thomas that we saw at Supernats, where he just could walk away from a field and completely control a race. He was into a bit of a new element of American KA100 racing, of being within the pack and having to really fight for it.
So update on Stolzer-Manis on Friday in the final session, he was disqualified for being underweight. So that put him in the slow group.
Oh, is that what it was? So I didn't even know that. Wow, okay. Well, listen, the hard charger is kind of a nice award, but you don't really want it because it means you started deeper in the field.
Exactly.
So he started 27th and drove up to P10. And as Nate said, he did show up a little bit better on Saturday. Moving into Sunday, one of the veteran drivers, Nick Terlecki, out of the gate. Qualified on P1. Aiden Levy picked up where he left off on Saturday. He was right in the fight there as well. But the battle, I think the cool factor on Sunday in the main event, Stolzer-Manis was in the fight. Luke Welcome was really good all weekend long too. He was super strong. But I think one of the cool storylines, it's not even so much about the driver, but it's a little bit about, the industry itself too. David, last couple of years, we've seen AJ Myers, but every once in a while run a Magic Kart in single speed. This is, I think, their first national single-speed race win with Colin Lloyd, local driver, being able to come away with a massive win.
It is, yeah. We've seen AJ Myers, do fairly well, be a top 10 competitor again, but he's not the 100cc racer. Like he's not a Brandon Lemke or, guys that,
he's not a specialist.
He is not. He does a great job in X30 racing. He'd probably do a little bit better there, but yeah, they tried their hand at it. So they haven't really been able to put like a driver like that to be able to compete. And when you go to Homestead, you think of local drivers, and Colin Lloyd is one of those drivers that you point out to, winning last year in that chaotic race we had a year ago on Sunday. So he's able to match that performance and beat a Super Nationals winner at the same time.
Well, that's it. Thomas Stolzer-Mann has ended up in second spot. Luke Welcome, another one of those top local drivers who kind of blew onto the national scene at the Winter Series when he was kind of right in there, won one of the races a couple of years ago. Austin Jers, again, had a good weekend all total, a couple of top fives for the Merlin Nation driver, P4. And Aiden Levy, again, winning on Saturday and then coming back on Sunday for a top 5 finish. Frankie Mossman was the driver who had the issue in the pre-final. I can't remember what it was for Mossman that took him off track. I think he might have lost a chain early. Ended up starting at the tail of the field in 28th and driving his way back up to 7th. So all told, Mossman had good speed in the CRG, but losing that chain in the pre-final put him to the tail of the field.
Yeah, wasn't able to complete a lap in the pre-final.
It was on the warm-up lap, literally coming out of turn. No, it wasn't. It was at the very start of the race. It was coming through 1-2, the first lap. He got hammered and just cruised off.
Yeah, tough break for him, but again, showing the pace that CRG has in the 100cc category. And with that, we'll head into commercial break as we continue on with the debrief of the Superkarts USA Winter Series program, and we'll have the junior categories along with the master after another break. So we got a lot of breaks here. So we'll get into commercial break number 3 right now.
Motor mounts are critical to producing 100% of the power your engine has to get you on the podium each and every time. Odenthal Racing Products provide the best motor mounts in the karting market today. Odenthal Racing Products is a family-owned and operated business with decades of karting experience, providing products with unmatched quality and value for the karting market. Our newest product is the Pro Series mount for 2-cycle engines, available in 0, 5, and 8 degree angles, providing a rigid structure to help keep vibration to a medium with fins underneath to help dissipate heat off the engine. Our 4-cycle EZ set is one of the most popular mounts for the Briggs & Stratton 206 power plant. Multiple mounting holes provide the most adjustability depending on your chassis and seat placement. To ensure a tight fit to your chassis, ORP wedge clamps get the job done, featuring a number of updates to its design for a lower profile and lighter weight. The clamps are available from 28mm to 32mm in both standard and Euro sizes. Head to OdenthalRacing.com and find a dealer near you. Odenthal Racing Products, made in the USA. You can buy all the latest and greatest products on the market, but when you're karting to win, it boils down to one thing: you, the driver. Gain the knowledge and abilities by investing in yourself at the Alan Rudolph Racing Academy, and you'll find those extra tenths of a second you need to put yourself on the podium. The school was established by Superkarts USA Hall of Fame driver Alan Rudolph, with decades of victories and championships in multiple forms of the sport, including other disciplines of racing. The Alan Rudolph Racing Academy, located at the Speed Sports Racing Park in the metropolitan Houston area, is designed to teach driving skills at all levels. The instructors of the Academy have decades of racing experience and educating drivers of all ages. Classes at the Academy will teach the concepts and skills needed both behind the wheel and off the track. From the beginning kart racing experience and intro to karting courses, to their advanced 1-day and 2-day courses and karting clinics, the Alan Rudolph Racing Academy can improve the skills of any driver. For more information on the specific programs that the Alan Rudolph Racing Academy can provide for you, head to speedsports.com and click on the Racing Academy page. Be sure to follow the Academy on social media by searching for Alan Rudolph Racing Academy.
And we are back with the debrief of the Superkarts USA Winter Series program at the AMR Motorplex. I am David Cole, joined by Rob Howden and Nate Dean, who were trackside for the event, as we continue our race report presented by Comet Kart Sales, as we now head into the X30 Junior category presented by Rollison Performance Group. And the headline is victories to start out 2023 for Rivera and Vidmontien.
Yeah, for me, it was, Ernesto Rivera coming off the big win at the Super Nationals, and he backs things up, right? He wins the biggest race of the year and then caps it in essentially a 2-month back-to-back as he wins on Saturday as well. He was really strong throughout the entire day, qualified on pole, won the pre-final, really kind of dominated the action to a certain extent. Steve Miller was really good. He ends up finishing in second, Teddy Musella in third. Oliver Weldon was up there again. Remember, Weldon was the mini Swift champion last year in the Winter Series, so he's a rookie. His home track did a tremendous job in the LN racing kart machine. He was fourth. And Enzo Vidmontien, I think, is a driver running with Motaz Sport on the parallel, David, that we're going to watch throughout the year because he was good in both X30 Junior and KA100 Junior. He's going to be a driver who's going to fight for championships, I think, here in 2023.
Yeah, again, that whole top five drivers who we saw have success last year, but just weren't able to put themselves in the elite category in terms of junior drivers. And I think that top five you're looking at that you just mentioned, I think that's going to be the elite drivers and drivers we're going to see fighting out for victories throughout the season. And as you said, Vidmontien, we're going to be watching him throughout the season. Well, everybody was chasing him on Sunday.
The thing about Rivera is, David, when you win that first big race, he all year long last year, kind of in the shadow of Caleb Gaffera. Gaffera was kind of the lead guy for Rollison Performance Group. Rivera was in there battling it out, getting better and better, then, of course, able to get the win in the Supernats. Nate, I don't know if you talked to Ernesto or saw Ernesto or not. He just seems super relaxed. Obviously the confidence from winning in Vegas. He just seemed like ready to go to battle on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't talked to him and I don't spend too much time around the RPG tent, but just seeing him on grid compared to other races throughout the season, it just seemed like the tension was off. The shoulders were a bit higher. Yeah. It seemed like he felt like he was supposed to be there. Like he knew that he could get that result after the Supernats win and just had a lot more confidence going into this weekend.
I like that line. He felt like he deserves to be there, right? He feels like he has it. I think that's going to play out a lot. I think he's going to be a driver that's going to go for championships all year long. Gennaro Trappa was the hard charger, rather. Started back in 25th and worked his way up into the top 14. The battle was pretty strong throughout the entire day, David. We talked about Enzo Vidmontien going P5 on Saturday. Came out of the gate and really, I don't want to say dominated the action because there was so much great racing, but he topped every session. Qualified on the pole, won the pre-final, and ended up getting the race win after some tremendous racing. But the good story for me in this one was actually another one of the RPG drivers, Jackson Wolney, stepping up in a big way. He was in the middle of the fight, top five drivers. He was right there, kind of P4 for a while. Ends up working his way forward, past a bunch of really good drivers, and was putting the pressure on Vidmontien over the last lap.
Yeah, I don't think Wolney. I think this is his RPG debut, if I'm correct in that. I don't think
it might be. Yeah, it might have been, but they've been working with him in the offseason, I believe.
Yeah, so again, we've seen that with Caleb Gaffera step up and be right there right away when he made his RPG debut. Hayden Jones, another driver doing that. A number of different drivers kind of step up. Again, just that little extra little bit. And again, working with different teammates, as you said, Rivera right there, Max Taylor. So that kind of helps bring your confidence up, as you guys were just saying about Rivera. Rivera is kind of leading that train right now for RPG. And so that just helps the other drivers pull in. But again, Vidmontien, just a little bit too much for everybody on the day to be able to sweep the round 2 action, winning by 0.3 of a second over Wolney. Rivera in the 3rd spot, Max Taylor 4th, and Leonardo Scorpioni in the 5th spot aboard the Tony Kart. Again, another local driver doing well at Homestead. Again, something we'll see in all the different categories throughout the event.
Yeah, for Zella Racing as well, for Leonardo Scorpioni. Anthony Martella ends up in the hard charger position, started 19th and was able to race his way into the top 10. So great job for Martella, up 9 spots.
So now we'll get into KA100 Junior presented by Motaz Sport. And the headline for this category, Burnett and Miller carry momentum into 2023.
So the cool factor of Saturday was it was the first of our last lap over under third to first. We saw it obviously with Aiden Levy. So Stephen Miller, again, we talked about him already throughout this podcast. He was unbelievably quick, and I think is going to be quick all year. This is his year to kind of shine as well, along with Vid Montien, along with Rivera. A lot of these guys, are in their their maybe final years of junior. Vid Montien ends up winning the pre-final, but so the way things kind of rolled out at the end of the KA100 junior main event was a 3-driver breakaway, which was exciting. So Stephen Miller and Enzo Vid Montien 1-2, and it was Jensen Burnett kind of right there, but he wasn't really able to, he wasn't able to get into second where you kind of want to be on the final lap, either leading or in second, especially at Homestead. So they come down the straightaway, final lap, rolling down in. It's going to be Miller versus Vid Montien. Miller defends a little bit to the inside, maybe a bit of a bump and run for Vid Montien because the race director, Bo Barfield, did say that, we're going to let you guys race a little bit. We're getting a little bit of a bump and run is not the worst thing. We're going to let that happen. You run the risk of the pushback bumper, but we're going to let you race. So Vid Montien gets back into the Miller a little bit. They push off wide. There's a bit of an exit space there. Miller goes onto the rumbles. Vid Montien's got to gather it up, and Burnett does the full wide run, wide entry, over under, and they're essentially 3 wide, or he's at least 2 wide with Vid Montien side by side, 22 thousandths of a second at the line, and Burnett actually comes away with the win.
Yeah, exciting finish there for the junior category. And yeah, again, Homestead, that final lap, you got that long straightaway. A lot can happen in that real estate. And again, Burnett just timed it out right. We saw in the senior category where De Tullio wasn't able to time it just right, and Bonilla was able to hold him off. So again, lastly, I like that Bo Barfield's kind of letting them race a little bit more. Yeah. Again, a little bit of contact's not detrimental unless you get put into a wall. That's a different thing. But let the guys race. Again, they got to learn.
Dave, especially when the driver's blocking down the inside.
Especially when you're blocking, when you're not blocking, when you're defending, you're defending, you got to expect to get a little bit of contact. So I enjoy that. So as you said, Burnett winning by 22 thousandths of a second over Miller with Vid Montien in the third position. Ivana Richards aboard the Tony Kart in the 4th spot, and Ernesto Rivera in the 5th position. Salvador Della Vecchia making his junior debut, getting the hard charger, moving up 17 spots, 42nd to 25th. So again, a big field of 50 karts. So there's obviously going to be a lot of drivers trying to gain a lot of positions in that main event.
And let me just throw this out there. Nate wasn't in putting the top 10s in. Normally we'd get the shot of the potential winners and come in and get the top 10s on social media. He was out there on the racetrack because, Nate, you got a pretty badass shot of them coming across the line side by side.
Yeah, it was. There's a couple times throughout the weekend where they were going side by side and then decided to make a bit of contact at the line. And you can see me on the Kart Chaser broadcast just skedaddle out of the way pretty quickly.
Good man.
It always makes for some good racing and some good photos.
Keep an eye out, man. I don't want you getting hit out there.
Don't be a Trevor.
Don't be a Trevor Blue. That's exactly right. Nonetheless, it was a tremendous battle, as we said. Great run for Burnett. Come Sunday, we talked about Miller. Right. Stephen Miller, especially at that track, he's a Florida driver. He knows that track really well. Rivera, again, showing his strength and his confidence. He qualifies on pole. They've got that cosmic rolling. But Miller really was the kind of guy to beat at the end. He was able to get to the front again, ends up scoring the win. He was challenged by Burnett at the end, but not enough that he was going to kind of get overtaken. He had enough of a gap over the final circuit. So Miller ends up with the win on the Kart Republic. Jensen Burnett, so a win and a second for Burnett, but he won't be back for the second SCUSA weekend. He's going to be over in Europe. I guess going to do some extensive racing in Europe for Burnett this year. So sadly, we won't see him in February. I think one of the big stories of the main event on Sunday, other than Stephen Miller's victory, was the podium for Hudson Schwartz. And here's a young driver, again, running with Rawlison Performance Group, kind of dialing things in. He, in the wet session, I think at the wet session on Friday, he ended up going over a curb, coming out of the cart, and coming back down on his ribs. And he injured his ribs pretty badly enough that they went to the ER to see if anything was wrong. And so he kind of suffered through and soldiered on through really painful ribs situation throughout the weekend. And this is a tough track. We know Homestead's a tough track. So for him to be able to suck it up and get to P3, I think that's a really, really great performance for Hudson.
Yeah, ribs are an issue at Homestead. We've seen that with Hannah Greenmeyer and other drivers racing at the Homestead circuit. Again, curbing is I think they're not as, because again, the way they reshape them, I think they don't hit them as hard. But again, just the left, right, back and forth, it's kind of can be brutal on the ribs. So great performance by Schwartz there on the podium. Vidmontien in the 4th position. And then Jackson Wolney with another top 5 finishing in the 5th spot. Rivera was able to drive up 38 spots. So I guess he had some issues in the pre-final to go from 49th to 11th to be the hard charger for Sunday.
Yeah, I can't recall why Rivera went to the back. Nate, do you remember it
all? He didn't start the pre-final.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think his chain fell off or something. I was going over to take photos of that race in the turn 1 through 3 complex, and he was just sitting there next to his cart.
Pretty solid run to the front then. They've 38 spots up to 11th. Good job for him.
Yeah, so if it's not ribs, it's chains that take you out in Homestead. Apparently. And with that, we'll head into our next commercial break as we continue on with the debrief of the Superkarts USA Winter Series, and we'll have a quick rundown of the 2 master categories, KA100 and Master Shifter, after these commercials.
Are you ready to go from karts to cars? Since 1975, the Skip Barber Racing School has taken great drivers and made them champions. Today, we're proud to welcome the next generation of winners. Make the transition from karts to cars with the Skip Barber Formula Race Series. You'll compete at the most iconic tracks in America. Race weekends include your very own equalized Formula 4 race car, a professional crew, expert instruction, video and data analysis, hospitality, and more. This is the place to fulfill your dream of becoming a champion. Sign up today by calling 866-932-1949 or visit us at skipbarber.com. Top-level production with a focus on a single form of motorsport, karting. This is MG Tires. MG Tires USA, underneath the Vantage Karting Group banner, is the official distributor of the MG Tires brand for the United States. MG Tires are the official spec tire in the US Pro Kart Series, Route 66 Sprint Series, Sunshine State Karting Challenge, and countless clubs across the country. No matter your compound preference, MG Tires USA has you covered. Whether it's the medium SH Red or the soft SM Yellow that you find at many karting events in the US, or the super soft green SS and the intermediate white IZ optional compounds, MG Tires USA has your winning set of rubber in stock. Indoor and outdoor rental facilities can now trust MG Tires with their solution to long-lasting and the best performance with 3 different compounds available through the RL line. For more info about MG Tires USA and its extensive list of dealers near you, check out their website at mgtiresusa.com. MG Tires, for the drivers.
And back with the debrief of the Superkarts USA Winter Series. I am David Cole, joined by Rob Howden and Nate Dean, who are trackside as we continue our race report presented by Comet Kart Sales. We'll get into the K100 Master presented by Kart Racing Solutions. Headline: Schiavo and Garrido earn inaugural victories.
Yeah, this will be a pretty quick segment here right now, because pretty much some significant dominance in both the categories. Luis Schiavo really absolutely flat dominated things in K100 Master. You said the first time that they had the K100 Master program on the Winter Series, it's been X30 Master for the last couple of years, and it's really got down to kind of single digits at sometimes. Schiavo was great, just dominated the action on Saturday. Really, the battle was more for second on Saturday with Ruben Ravello and Michael Garrido, the 2 Alessandro Racing teammates, going at it. They end up battling out. Ravello made a pass late in the race to grab second away from Garrido, so that was the podium. Miguel Mir coming home in 4th, and Mario Dominguez, former Champ Car driver, many years in the Champ Car Series, running for Alessandro Racing. He ends up P5. Mir was the hard charger, but only 2 spots up, 6th to 4th. Moved to Sunday, and Michel Garrido actually found some more speed. He was able to outrun him in qualifying. Schiavo, who won the pre-final, but everything changed then, David, on the opening lap of the final, where Schiavo had some kind of a braking issue and had zero brakes whatsoever, came off the racetrack, and that kind of opened the door for Garrido to just really to take over, and he ran away to a 8.1 second win.
Yeah, Miguel Mir able to improve up to the second position to get on the podium for the first time on the weekend. Ruben Ravello in the third spot, so 2 podium finishes for him on the weekend. Diego Rodriguez in the 4th spot, and Elliot Van Rankin in the Tony Kart finishing 5th. Iran Sanchez aboard the Cosmic was the hard charger, getting 6 spots, moving 13th to 7th to close out.
Final note there would be Mario Domingos was actually running a strong second, right to the penultimate lap, second last lap on Sunday, but his rear bumper had snapped and broken and fell off. So he got the meatball flag. So he has to pull off from second. So a great one-on-one scrap between Miguel Mir and Ruben Ravello that ended up with Mir in third, actually became the battle for second. So with him pulling off, Mir goes to second, Ravello goes to third. So a tough one for Mario Dominguez because he kind of had things handled there, David, in P2.
Yeah, again, 2 more rounds to kind of make up the ground on Schiavo, who had a DNF. But so a lot of things can happen in the final 2 rounds in terms of championship way come next month. So we'll head into the Master Shifter presented by Greyhound Racing Seats, and the headline will be double win weekend for defending champ.
Yeah, and that defending champ is Scott Skitchy Barnes from Bermuda, running with the Magic Kart guys. He qualified on the pole position, won the pre-final, and ran away to a 4.9 second win over Patrick Otto Madsen on the AMSA Racing Formula K machine. Scott Presti was actually really strong in qualifying, but something happened in the pre-final, and he didn't make the main event, I don't believe. So he was able to run. Barnes was able to run away. Patrick Otto Madsen by himself in second. Dan Breitenstein on the Burrell Art for Ricer Racing was third. Frank Runkel on the Magic Kart was fourth. Came back on Sunday, though, and Patrick Otto Madsen, who bases their karting program, the ANSA Motorsports karting program, from Homestead, actually laid down the fast lap. He qualified in the pole, and then Scott Presti stepped up on the Ralph Schumacher chassis. He ended up winning the pre-final because Barnes had an issue. He was on the sidelines and had to start dead last in that race as well.
Well, any idea what the issue was for Barnes in the pre-final?
I actually didn't ask him. We just were kind of running around. I'm not sure what happened to him in the pre-final. It was coming out of turn 6 over to 7. And from the very start of the race, he was on the sidelines. There was something happening on the very opening lap. I'm not sure exactly what it was, but it didn't matter. In the main event, Scott got a great start and eventually was able to work his way by Patrick Otto Madsen to pull away to a 5-second lead. The real battle throughout the entire race was Patrick Otto Madsen versus Scott Presti. They diced it out for the majority of the race before Presti retired early.
Yeah, tough break for Presti because he seems like he had the pace all weekend long, just not having the luck, getting that pre-final win. So one session went his way, but it seemed like all the rest were a bit difficult. So hopefully he'll have that remedied for the second weekend, and we'll be able to see both Patrick Otto Madsen and Presti battle Barnes for the victories on the weekend.
And hopefully as well, you mentioned it in Pro Shifter, right? We're closer to the start of the season, so maybe we'll get a couple more Masters drivers coming out to play to dial themselves in for the SCUSA Winter Nationals, which, as we know now, will be held in the state of Florida. So maybe some more Florida drivers will get dialed in, knowing that they can run a track in Orlando that they've run before. So we'll see what happens. Maybe we'll get a couple more Masters drivers coming out to play.
Yeah, we missed that in the paddock pass, but I think we'll bring that up in the wrap up. So a little bit later, we'll get to that wrap up. But first, we have a commercial break, and then we'll get into Mini Swift and Micro Swift. So just hang on for a couple more commercials as we'll get to those categories right after this.
Established in 1999, PSL Karting has become a powerhouse within the karting industry for North America and around the world. PSL Karting is your complete source for all Burrell Art products as the North American importer, providing this top quality product through both their expansive dealer network or through the PSLkarting.com online store. Whatever you need is available 24/7 online, including safety gear, parts, components, and full karting packages. All 3 brands, Burrell Art, Ricardo Kart, and Charles Leclerc Karts, are in stock and ready to hit the track. Grab your winning chassis for any category by visiting PSLkarting.com to find your nearest dealer. PSL Karting is always looking for interest in new dealers and teams to help create new business relationships. Drivers looking to take their talents to the next level can join the Burrell Art North America race team, competing at all the major U.S. and Canadian events this season. When you're ready to win, Go with PSL Karting.
You want the best, you just gotta roll with the best. Streeter Superstands. This is Jeff Wessel from StreeterSuperstands.com. You wouldn't put subpar parts on your racing cart, so why put that cherished ride of yours on anything but karting's #1 lifts and stands, Streeter Superstands. Streeter is the original and genuine manufacturer of the second-to-none Bigfoot rolling stands, stackers, uprights, and industry-leading Superlift. We also manufacture and sell the largest and always growing roster of trailer and shop accessories like tire, engine and jug racks, cabinets, spray can trays, bead breakers, and tons more to outfit any size trailer, team, and budget. Streeter Superstands has over 30 continuous years of experience. We're kart racers just like you and know that the Streeter name represents the absolute best in stands, lifts, and accessories for karting enthusiasts worldwide. Durability, affordability, unmatched quality, and customer service, that's what sets us apart from the rest. Check us out now at StreeterSuperstands.com. Roll with the best, StreeterSuperstands.com.
And we are back with the final race report segment here on the Debrief, covering the Superkarts USA Winter Series program at AMR Motorplex. Again, the race report presented by Comet Kart Sales, and we'll now head into the Mini Swift category. We'll have Rob Howden and Nate Dean kind of break this down. I am David Cole. Again, the headline for Mini Swift category, Palacio shines in main events.
Yeah, this was really big because there was 2 stars, really. Let's be real. 2 stars of the main event in Mini Swift on Saturday. Alessandro Truchot qualified on the pole. He was good all weekend long. He ends up winning the pre-final as well. And there was some really good racing up front. Guys were going back and forth. Truchot, Ashton Woon, Tristan Murphy was in there. A bunch of other drivers were in the fight up front in the Mini Swift class. All this racing allowed 2 drivers to come from the tail of the field. Palacio had an issue in the pre-final. He started 29th. He ends up driving all the way forward. We teed on him big time. He just kept coming forward, closer, and ended up making a last lap pass to grab the win. It really, stunned the paddock that he was able to get the job done, coming from 29th to be able to get this victory in what we know is a very tight field in Mini Swift, right? He was just absolutely on fire to work his way forward. End up getting by Ashton Woon on the parallel, who finished second, but Palacio's win was absolutely massive. Maybe even more impressively, it was Kai Johnson, David, on the Bennick. He started 42nd, almost at the very tail of the Mini Swift field, and passed 39 drivers. This is a true awesome hard charger award. He ended up finishing on the podium in third. It was an amazing drive for Kai Johnson.
Yeah, amazing drive for him. 39 spots in 20 laps. That's a lot. That's nearly 2 karts a lap. Or at least 1.5. I'm not sure you can pass half a cart, but it just boggles my mind that, again, many drivers are not locking up. We've seen a lot of it last year with Harvick, getting 2 drivers to kind of break away. You would think after watching that and getting beat by that, people would start learning and be able to do that. But it seemed like these guys just wanted to be the leader every single lap, and it didn't matter who was in front of them. They were going to pass them. So it seemed like that helped and allowed Palacio and Johnson to be able to close in.
And this is one of those tracks when you start defending into the hairpin turn 4, hairpin turn 5, you lose so much exit, you bring everybody back in. The track really doesn't play for the leaders battling up front. And that's the issue we saw, right? Everybody was battling. Everybody wanted to lead. They were dicing each other left and right.
Yeah, for sure. There was just, across all classes, there was just a ton of battling in those dual hairpin sections, always bringing all the classes a lot closer. Calling back to KA Junior, with Jensen Burnett's win on Saturday, it was a 10 kart field for the win with 2 laps to go going into the second hairpin.
Yeah, you're right. No doubt. It shouldn't have been, right? There should have been a breakaway for sure.
Those hairpins are kind of the cause, because again, you go defensive mode right away when you're heading into, especially the second hairpin, more so in the counterclockwise direction, just because of the way the track's laid out, because you have that quick left right after on the exit. So makes for an interesting thing. So to wrap up the top 5, Palacio first, Ashton Woon in the second spot ahead of Kai Johnson, Tristan Murphy aboard the Paralyn in 4th, and Ethan Tovo aboard a Paralyn in the 5th spot.
Yeah, Tovo came back, David, on Sunday and qualified on the pole position. Truchot then emerged as the pre-final winner. Like I said, he knows that track very well. He races it very well and was able to get a strong run there. He was in the fight up front on the main event on Sunday, as well as Michael McGoy. Kai Johnson didn't have to come from the tail of the field this time, so he was in the middle of the fight. This time it was Ashton Woon, actually, who had to come from the tail, but he couldn't get all the way to the very front. But the bottom line is Lucas Palacio did it again. He started within the top 10 and just worked his way forward. And again, was really good in the second half of the race, as he was on Saturday. Finally worked his way up into the second position, was able to take the lead in the final lap and scored another win, cruising out of the final corner to win by 0.4 of a second. Really, for Palacio, got to be, in my opinion, probably his career best overall performance on a weekend.
Yeah, and ran the quickest lap of the race on lap 19 as he was closing up on Truchot there for the final lap battle. So that's, a good weekend to be able to drive from the back forward, and then the next day be able to kind of play a good game of chess and beat out the competition that you're pretty much going to be racing throughout the season. So Palacio taking the victory by 0.4 ahead of Michael McGoy. Truchot in the third spot ahead of Johnson, with Devin Waltz aboard the Kart Republic under the Speed Concepts racing tent in the fifth position.
And I'll just throw this out there. I told Lucas's dad, Nick, he made us look good because we make him our first EKN one to watch driver, and he was definitely the one to watch. So we look good there.
Yeah, and then to close out the category, Ashton Woon picking up the Hard Charger Award, 25 spots, 41st to 16th. So you said not quite the same performance that we saw with Palacio and Johnson the day before, but a good recovery after an issue in the pre-final.
All right, David, let's roll into micro. Cap it off.
You wanted to do it, didn't you?
I don't know. It
feels natural, right?
It feels natural. Yeah.
I love this. This is fun. Micro Swift presented by Rissa Racing. The headline for this category, Pizzonia Neto sweeps weekend.
Yeah, a guy qualified with the pole position in the Micro Swift category, the Super Nationals, and I think we're going to see a lot more of him. Of course, the son of former Formula One driver Antonio Pizzonia, who actually ended up winning in the Master Shifter class at the Super Nats. Flat dominated the action. He was the guy to beat. Very similar to what we saw from Alessandro Truchot last year. Was never challenged throughout the entire weekend. Qualified on pole, won the pre-final, drove away to a 6.7 second win on Saturday. Parker Ives and Pasha Ali, who we mentioned in the outlap, David, end up running second and third all race long. Ali finished third behind Ives in second, but did not have the chain guard when he came across the line. And Tech ends up losing that and gets DQ'd. So that moved up Valentino Santillan on a parallel up into third. João Paulo Banataman on a parallel in fourth, and Maxwell Masha in the fifth spot. We mentioned this in the podcast as well. We talked about it throughout the broadcast as well on the weekend. Top 10 drivers last year for the championship in micro, all moving up into mini Swift or not running this year. So really a brand new group of drivers that we're seeing who were outside the top 10 last year, their time in the sun.
Yeah, that's going to be kind of the story of the Micro Swift or micro category throughout the season is picking and learning about these drivers who are going to be running up front as we go from event to event. You talk about the disqualification for Ali. It's interesting that we haven't adjusted that ruling for water bottle or catch can or a chain guard. Like, I understand these are things you need on the cart. I'm just wondering why a complete disqualification is needed for something like that.
Yeah.
That is non-performance, but you need on the cart. I'd really like to see, again, I'm a little quick soapbox. I'd like to see that be maybe a 5 or 10 position penalty in the future, because then it doesn't completely disrupt your race week, your race day.
Agreed. Now, thankfully for I guess Scusa's going with a drop. I didn't realize this, but they're having one drop this year. So instead of taking all 4 races, you only take the 3 races. So it would have been good for Pasha Ali, except coming into Sunday where Antonio Pizzonia Neto just walked again. He had an issue, I believe, Ali did at the very start. I think he lost the chain at the start of the main event, so he got no results for Ali. Pizzonia Neto ran away to a 5.2 second win on Sunday. Valentino Santillan Santillan was quick all weekend long. In fact, I think was a fast driver. Got the fast lap, I believe, on Sunday. It wasn't Pizzonia Neto.
Correct.
So yeah, yep. Santillan ends up in second. João Paulo Banataman once again into the top 3 onto the podium. Maxwell Masha was there again as well, but Colton Schniegenberg this time on the energy, putting it together on Sunday as he worked his way up into the top 5.
I'm glad you said that name because I needed to hear it before I said it.
I know.
It's different. It's different. That's how I just can't get it. Parker Eves with the hard charger on Sunday, going 18 spots, 28 to 10th. So not sure what happened to him on the pre-final.
There was a couple drivers that went off for some contact, so that might have been it. Otherwise, yeah, Parker Ives is still going to be in the fight, 10th position. He'll have 2 more shots at it to at least try to battle Pizzonia for the championship. Again, all Antonio needs is one more dominant day, and he'll lock things up on Saturday. Round number 3, you can get it done.
So a quick final commercial break, and we'll get into our wrap-up Constructors Championship and our EKN Trackside Live race calendar right after these commercials.
2019 marked a new era for the Cartlift brand. The company that Tim Coyne owned and operated since 2003, one with a long tradition of quality products for the karting industry, was purchased by Ted Fashing and his business, Stockholm Karting Center, in October of 2019. Stockholm Karting Center Inc. has added the Cartlift brand to their very successful Triple T Race Products brand that has been fabricating parts for the drag racing industry for the past 25 years. We're small enough where the owner answers the phone and every call is important to us, but we're large enough to get the job done. We pride ourselves on the quality and personal customer service that we provide on the phone or at the track. Cartlift stands, as you know, can be found at racetracks all over the country. If you race alone, or if you're a parent with a cadet or junior driver, let our one-man winch lift make your race days easier. Position the hooks under the rear bumper, push the button, and your cart is raised into position and you're ready to go. We have traditional cart stands, single upright storage stands, cart lift stackers for storing 2 carts at once, tire changers, and skid plate kits. Cart lift stands are available at the finest kart shops around the country, or you can order online at cartlift.com. For more information, give us a call at 877-777-8020. That's 877-777-8020. Get a cart lift and leave your crew at home. Winning takes top quality equipment, flawless preparation, experienced coaching, and passion. And at Team GFC, we live our passion. Developed by American karting champion Gary Carlton, the GFC chassis has become one of the newest brands to reach the top of the podium in North America. GFC has garnered victories and championships at all levels of the sport since its debut at the end of 2018. Shifter car drivers are at the front of the field in the GT14 frame, with the SS31 a consistent contender in tag and 100cc competition. Team GFC has arrive and drive packages available for all categories, including the mini and micro classes utilizing the GFC RR5 cadet chassis. These young pilots have the opportunity to be part of the Team GFC Young Driver Development Program. Learn from one of the best American karters with 28 years racing at the highest levels in the sport, offering personalized training on and off the track. Follow GFC Karting on Facebook and Instagram, or click over to gfckarting.com to learn more about joining Team GFC. GFC, live your passion.
And we are back with the debrief covering the Superkarts USA Winter Series at AMR Motorplex. I am David Cole, joined by Rob Howden and Nate Dean, who are trackside, and we're going to give them the opportunity to provide us a quick little wrap-up of the opening rounds of the program down in Florida. So, Rob, what are kind of some key notes to kind of close out the opening 2 rounds of the series?
You know, Nate and I obviously have different, we were kind of from different standpoints, right? I was on the broadcast throughout the weekend. Nate was on the racetrack taking lots of shots, handling the coverage and the social media posting. For me, just a couple of lines, just a really impressive weekend all total. I'm impressed by a lot of the rookies that have moved up the classes. They were strong. Scusa's got to be happy. Felt like kind of a flawless event, you know, no real issues, record numbers at 250, which bodes well, I think, moving into the 2023 season. You know, you always wait till the final checkered flag was done and it came. No red flags, a pretty clean weekend, which is amazing. And as we mentioned earlier, I think one of the things was everybody was kind of clean coming out of the gate. We're going to race clean on Saturday. It's going to be fun. then, as I always say, everybody comes into Sunday with a different mindset, right? If you won the race, you can be more conservative. If you struggled, you can battle back. So the intensity amped up, I felt, consistently over the 2 days to the point where it was kind of boiling over to a certain extent come Sunday afternoon. So all in all, though, for me, a really good feel.
And I think, again, that's why I always favor the one final weekends, because you don't get that when you only have one main event.
Yeah.
When you have two, people, as you said, they're either conservative the next day, or they're just, the red mist comes and they just don't care. So yeah, a little bit, but you're always going to expect that when you have the two final weekend formats. So Nate, what were kind of some of the wrap up items that you'd like to cover covering the weekend? Obviously you were involved in some breaking news at the end of Sunday.
Yeah, and everyone was after Tom came on when you and you, Rob, were wrapping up the end of the broadcast.
Unannounced, by the way.
A bit of a funny moment, admittedly. But yeah, going to Orlando for Winter Nationals. Talk more about that in some later podcast, I presume. But yeah, an overall pretty good weekend. It went, I couldn't think of anything that went wrong. Obviously, no red flags, no big issues with scoring. A bit of a scare after someone plugged their space heater in and the broadcast went down. But moving on from that, it was a pretty good weekend.
Okay. So I know we wanted to wrap this up quicker, but I need a quick breakdown first of the Tom Kutcher moment. So he just got on the microphone?
Essentially, Xander and I were getting ready to kind of wrap things up for the day. We were done with the last deal. Tom wandered into the kart chaser booth and was kind of standing behind us and started talking a little bit. And we were trying to kind of get our mics to the point where we could hear us, because I guess he wanted to make the announcement because they had signed the contract, I think, to move to Orlando. So I just took my headset off and gave it to Tom and bailed out and let Xander handle it. So yeah, Tom essentially came on and announced that the Winter Nationals was moving to Orlando. We had no idea it was happening. It just he kind of rolled in and decided he wanted to tell everybody. So
yeah. So and you're working on an article that we'll publish on EKN with a little more insight and more details from Superkarts USA regarding that. But who's the pansy? Who needs a space heater?
Well, I'll tell you this, David. It was underneath the canopy, the kart chaser canopy. There was a ton of wind on the weekend. It wasn't me. I was fine. We were all everybody was shivering because we weren't in the sun. Right? It was cold underneath. It was like 45 degrees or 50 degrees plus the wind plus no sun. So it was a little chilly. But
so yeah. You won't name names.
No, I will not name names because we shut everything down. So. Blew the breaker. I think they even lost live timing for a second. Yeah, it was
well, see, this is why Homestead, they keep talking about how they're going to build a scoring tower and announcing booth. We need an indoor place to be able to do our coverage. Again, we're not going anywhere. They got to understand that. I mean, we got places like Speed Sports that actually dedicate the tower to certain people and certain individuals. So
yeah, they do. That's right.
We need that. So let's get into the Constructors Championship. I think I did my math wrong there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different brands winning on the weekend for the 18 different wins. So pretty good diversity in terms of brands. But it was Kart Republic and Magic Kart leading the way with 4 victories. Parolin with 3, Cosmic with 2, and then we have Alonso Kart, Formula K, Tony Kart, Esprit, and Red Speed all with 1. So a lot of OTK in there, but again, good. Magic Kart I think was kind of the story with 4 victories, because we expect to see Kart Republic up there being at Homestead. And very good, again, very familiar with that track being a home track for Kart Republic. So, but again, 9 different brands. That's a good number to have to start the year.
Yeah, and Magic Kart, is going to be strong with AJ Myers there. Scott Barnes, of course, on the Magic now too, so he did well there. To me, for Magic, it's the KA100 Senior win, as I had said, by Colin Lloyd. That for them to get a single speed victory, I think is massive. We'll hopefully see some more Magic Karts out there in single speed competition. Yeah,
again, Alonso Kart produced by Kart Republic, so essentially 5 for that manufacturer. So
sure enough.
We'll head into the EKN Trackside Live race calendar presented by OTK USA. All over the karting world, everyone knows OTK is this gold standard for quality and performance. In the United States, OTK USA is the source for all things OTK, from the legendary Tony Kart brand to the race-winning Cosmic, Esprit, Red Speed, and EOS chassis, and now the new Gallard and Lando Norris brands. OTK quality is second to none. To learn more about specific product line or to find the OTK USA dealer near you, whether it's Tony Kart, Cosmic, Esprit, Red Speed, EOS, Gallard, or LN Kart, visit otkusa.com. So we have 2 events on the calendar coming up for the month of February. We are done for January, so Rob's doing a quick little vacay out in Utah before heading back to his homeland in Canada. Nate's back in the cold of Minnesota before he'll head back to Florida for the second round of the Superkarts USA Winter Series. But our next event on the calendar is the actual Trackside Live event for Challenge of the Americas, the 16th season of that program. Going to kick off February 3rd through the 5th at the Musselman Honda Circuit in Tucson, Arizona. So our 13th season with Challenge of the Americas.
Yeah, looking forward to that one for sure. David, you and I will be trackside there, full trackside live. So we'll have our EKN live broadcast as well, playing on the EKN radio network, and you'll be able to tune into that for sure. So everybody will be ready to rock there. Looking forward to getting out there. Looking forward to seeing the OKN chassis and the OKN class as well. That category is going to make its debut. A number of drivers, David, have already kind of stated their intent to run that class on social media. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And you're right. After that, the following week, I'll be home for 2 days, then back in the air, heading back down to Miami with Nate for the final rounds of the Superkarts USA Winter Series. We talked about a lot of drivers in this podcast. We'll see whether or not they could step things back up and score a championship to start the season. From there, it's on to the SCUSA Pro Tour. But again, one more stop, one more trip down to Homestead for Nate and I, and then we'll keep looking at the calendar. I think we're looking at 25 or so races here for 2023.
Yeah, and also the Rock Shifter Junior category at Challenge of the Americas is making its debut in February. So I know we have a couple of mini drivers that are already moving up into that ranks, including Gage Korn. So again, we'll see. Not too sure yet on the numbers for that category, but I think the OKN, we're going to have double digits for sure with a number of drivers taking that opportunity to make that class debut here in North America. So exciting head. Nate, are you looking forward to getting back down to Homestead after your first trip there?
Yeah, looking forward to it. It was a fun weekend, and you guys were talking about the cold. I don't know about you, but I was warm all weekend in my little scoring tower.
You were, yeah, he was in there the whole time.
But yeah, it's a fun track. It had some good racing. I'm interested to see how the flow of it goes going the other direction. Saw some videos of it last year, and it seems like the passing opportunities go down just a little bit. So it'll be interesting. Really looking forward to it.
I don't know about that, because those last 3 corners, you can get a lot of interesting scenarios happen, and we saw one last year for sure. It'll be a great way to close out the year, going the clockwise direction at home at AMR Motorplex in Homestead. So excited to see that. Excited to get back to the challenge. Excited to wrap up this edition of the Debrief. As I would like to thank Rob Howden and Nate Dean for joining us. Again, I'm David Cole. Thank you for tuning into the Debrief. And again, we'll see you trackside for Challenge in the Americas and the Superkarts USA Winter Series programs ahead. So again, thank you for tuning into this episode of the Debrief.